Hello there. Welcome to my channel. Hope you all are doing well. In today's podcast, I am going to narrate to you 3 extremely horrifying stories related to moving into a new house. All 3 stories are real and have been shared by individuals who experienced these chilling events firsthand. Each tale captures the unsettling realization that sometimes the history of a new home doesn't become apparent until after the keys are in your hand. From mysterious nighttime disturbances to uninvited guests from the shadows, these stories will have you questioning every creak and whisper in your own home. So, turn down the lights, settle in, and let's explore the darker side of new beginnings. Are you ready to dive into the unknown? Let's begin.
Story 1. The Whispering Woods.
Lily and Jack had been together for 10 years and tied the knot 2 years ago. They recently moved into a house in a small Georgian town called Willow Creek, nestled on a quiet street with a large backyard that bordered a dense forest, a feature both Lily and Jack found enchanting. Their dream was to adopt a puppy and start a family in this serene setting. The initial days were peaceful, spent unpacking and settling into their new home. However, their tranquility was shattered one night when, after turning off the lights, eerie music drifted from the backyard. It was an old tune from the 1940s, Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf by Henry Hall, but in the dead of night, it carried a chilling undertone. Jack grabbed a flashlight and ventured into the darkness, following the haunting melody that seemed to be coming from the woods. As he approached the edge of the forest, the music faded, leading him deeper into the shadows. There, he discovered an old radio playing the eerie tune. Puzzled, he picked it up, examining it closely, but found no clues as to who had left it there. The following night, the music returned, louder and more unsettling, this time playing Tiptoe Through the Tulips. Lily's screams from the window prompted Jack to investigate further. To his horror, he saw 3 shadowy figures standing silently in the woods, watching them. The incident led to police involvement, but the mystery persisted, casting a shadow of fear over Lily and Jack. Despite the police's efforts, the source of the music remained elusive. Lily grew increasingly anxious, haunted by the eerie tunes and the silent watchers in the woods. Jack tried to reassure her, but even he couldn't shake the feeling of being observed, of impending danger lurking in the darkness. The radios, once a curiosity, now felt like a sinister omen. As the days passed, the tension in their home escalated. Lily's sleepless nights and Jack's unease deepened as the music continued its nightly serenade. It felt like the forest itself was alive, whispering secrets that only they could hear. The sense of being watched grew stronger, a presence that seemed to linger just beyond their sight. One fateful night, as the haunting melody filled the air, Jack decided to confront the unknown. Armed with a flashlight, he ventured into the woods, determined to uncover the truth. The music intensified as he delved deeper, until a chilling silence descended, broken only by the eerie tunes. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows. A woman with a ghostly pallor and eyes that seemed to pierce the darkness. She moved towards Jack with an otherworldly grace, her presence sending a shiver down his spine. Paralyzed with fear, Jack watched as she reached out and touched his face, a coldness seeping into his very being. And then, darkness enveloped him. When Jack regained consciousness, he found himself lying on the ground, Lily by his side, her eyes filled with concern. The music had ceased, the forest eerily quiet. The police investigation yielded no answers, but Jack knew something had changed. The woods held a secret, a darkness that now clung to them. From that night on, the music ceased, but the feeling of being watched persisted. Lily and Jack knew they had to leave Willow Creek to escape the haunting presence that lingered in the shadows. They packed their belongings and departed, leaving behind the house that had become a place of dread. The memory of the eerie music and the silent figures in the woods haunted them, a reminder of the chilling unknown that lurked just beyond their perception.
Story 2. The Shadow in the Window.
After living with her parents for 28 years, Emily moved into her first house in July of 2022. Despite looking forward to the peace and quiet, Emily's inherited light sleeping made the transition challenging. Within a week, she was startled awake by footsteps she initially mistook for her father's nocturnal wanderings. However, the realization dawned on her that she was alone. The footsteps belonged to an intruder. Confronted by a masked man at the bottom of her stairs, Emily managed to scare him off, only to discover a second intruder had been inside as well. The police were called, but no substantial leads or stolen items emerged. The intruders had entered through a small kitchen window. This harrowing experience forced Emily to adopt new security measures, including sleeping with a knife beside her bed, a stark reminder of the vulnerability that came with her new independence. As the days went by, Emily struggled to shake off the feeling of unease that lingered after the break-in. She began to notice strange noises at night, creaks and groans that seemed to come from the very walls of her home. At first, she dismissed them as the typical sounds of an old house settling, but as the occurrences grew more frequent and intense, Emily's anxiety grew. She started to feel like she was being watched, and the feeling was suffocating. One night, Emily woke up to the sound of footsteps again. This time, they were louder and closer. She lay frozen in bed, her heart racing, as the creaks and groans grew louder. Suddenly, the lights in her bedroom began to flicker, and Emily felt a chill run down her spine. She knew she had to do something. But what? Emily slowly got out of bed, her eyes scanning the room for any sign of movement. She grabbed the knife from beside her bed and crept towards the door. As she reached for the handle, the lights stopped flickering, and the creaks and groans ceased. The silence was oppressive, heavy with an unspoken threat. Emily slowly turned the handle and pushed the door open. The hallway was dark, but she could see a faint light coming from the kitchen. She crept towards it, her heart pounding in her chest. As she entered the kitchen, she saw a figure standing by the window, its back to her. Emily's hand tightened around the knife handle, ready to strike. But as she approached the figure, she realized it was just a shadow, cast by the moonlight streaming through the window. Emily let out a sigh of relief, but her relief was short-lived. As she turned to leave, she saw a figure standing behind her, its face twisted into a grotesque grin. Emily let out a blood-curdling scream as the figure lunged at her. She tried to defend herself, but the figure was too strong. Emily felt herself being dragged back into the darkness, the last thing she saw being the masked face of her intruder from before. The police found Emily's house empty, the only sign of disturbance being the broken window and the scattered furniture. They searched the neighborhood, but no one saw or heard anything suspicious. Emily was never seen or heard from again, and her house remained empty, a haunting reminder of the horrors that lurked in the shadows.
Story 3. Shadows of Compassion.
When Samantha moved into her waterfront home, ideal for her boating hobby, she was initially charmed by the friendly neighbors. However, the dilapidated house across the canal soon became a source of unease. Initially inactive, one evening, a light flickered on, and Samantha spotted a man in his 50s watching from a window. This sporadic surveillance continued, unnerving her each time she caught him staring. One night, the ominous feeling escalated when Samantha heard noises in her backyard, followed by the shattering of glass. A brick had been thrown through her window. Despite her panic, no intruder was inside. The police investigated but found the house across the canal had been foreclosed. The mysterious man was nowhere to be seen. Samantha fortified her home with security cameras and remained vigilant, haunted by the unknown motivations and the unsettling possibility of his return. As the days passed, Samantha found it increasingly difficult to relax in her own home. The memory of the brick crashing through her window and the unsettling stare of the man across the canal haunted her every waking moment. She began to jump at every sound, her nerves frayed to the breaking point. One night, as Samantha was preparing for bed, she heard a noise coming from the kitchen. Her heart pounding, she grabbed a baseball bat and slowly made her way downstairs. As she entered the kitchen, she saw a shadowy figure standing by the back door. Without hesitation, Samantha swung the bat, connecting with the figure's shoulder with a sickening thud. The figure let out a cry of pain and stumbled backwards, revealing itself to be a young woman. Samantha was stunned, her grip on the bat loosening. The woman looked at her with fear in her eyes, her hands raised in a gesture of surrender. "Please, don't hurt me," the woman pleaded. "I didn't mean to scare you." Samantha was at a loss for words. She had expected to find the mysterious man from across the canal, not a young woman. The woman explained that she had been living in the foreclosed house and had come to Samantha's home in search of food and shelter. Samantha felt a pang of guilt, realizing that she had jumped to conclusions and attacked an innocent person. In the days that followed, Samantha and the woman, whose name was Lily, formed an unlikely friendship. Lily explained that she had fallen on hard times and had nowhere else to go. Samantha, moved by her story, offered her a place to stay and helped her get back on her feet. As Lily settled into her new life, Samantha began to feel a sense of peace return to her home. The unsettling presence of the mysterious man across the canal faded into the background, replaced by the warmth and laughter that Lily brought with her. One day, as Samantha was out on her boat, she noticed a familiar figure standing on the shore. It was the man from across the canal, his eyes fixed on her. Samantha felt a chill run down her spine, but as she watched, the man turned and walked away, disappearing into the distance. From that day on, Samantha never saw the man again. She knew that he had been the source of her unease, but with Lily by her side, she felt stronger and more resilient than ever before. The waterfront home that had once been a source of fear had become a place of healing and new beginnings, a testament to the power of friendship and the resilience of the human spirit.
Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to listen to similar stories in future.